Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to AJ's house. Of course, we are turning one and we're taking things to a whole new level. It's the first birthday celebration, and we decided to start it with a little bit of schooling to start things off. So, we're going to have the first official music business workshop for AJ's house. Guys, make some noise. Make some noise. Of course, obviously we are joined by people that are stakeholders in the industry. We've got DJs, we've got producers in the house, we've got vocalists, and on our panel of speakers, our topics today that we'll be covering are music publishing, online distribution, radio compilation, and brand management. So there's no DJ or producer or anyone who's in the music industry that can go without these four fundamental pieces. So make sure that you sit through the whole thing. Grab grab a paper, grab a notebook, and for everyone here, we managed to put together a pen and paper, some notebooks. Shout out! And then I hope that today we all get to learn something and get to take something home with us that'll benefit our careers and our journeys in the music industry. So to start things off, I've got one of my all-time favorites, a guy I met at the beginning of my journey. He's done so much, man. He's worked at Sony. He's done publishing at Sony. Opened his own. In fact, he's going to talk about everything that he's done so that I don't misquote him. But ladies and gentlemen, to start off, we've got the publishing segment of the show, and it's going to be hosted by none other than MOTI. Make some noise.
What a dude,
Brother, how you
fam.
doing?
I'm great, thanks. How are you doing?
Standard.
It's a
man.
pleasure to be here.
Thank you, man.
Yes,
finally,
yes.
finally, I get to host some intellects.
Come on.
And combine it with the entertainment, and
That's how it should be, though.
Exactly,
It has to be
exactly.
there.
And who better to talk about all of this than Moti
Is it
himself?
really a workshop without Moti? I don't know, dog. If you don't see Moti, I don't know if it's really a workshop.
Yeah, man. I didn't do justice, man, with your introduction. Please just give me a little young 2-minute introduction on
sure.
who Moti is
Yeah.
and just your history.
Okay, for sure. So my name is Munya Chantsa. I've been in the industry for over a decade now. I mean, we met many years ago. That was back at Content Connect. So as in, you can start the journey there. Content Connect Africa is where my career really picked up. Content Connect Africa, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a aggregation company, as well as now they've got online radio, as well as an online streaming platform. I mean, they're all about, the main business has always been caller tunes, and when I left, I was the Chief Operations Officer for Africa. So I was responsible for opening up offices across the continent, making great networks. It was the one that really put me on my path. And then from there, I hit CAPASO, the Composers, Authors and Publishers Association of South Africa. I headed up the licensing department, and that was a real, I always say it's baptism of fire, because I thought I knew the industry until I joined CAPASO. That's when I learned there's a whole segment which is the publishing and copyright or intellectual property that we neglect, and as we neglect that, we're losing money. So that's actually where now MOTI came to play, which stands for Masters of the Industry. Because I figured, I was like, I'd been in the industry then already like 9 years, and I was like, sure, if I don't know this after 9 years, what chance does some youngster who's just trying? So that's when MOTI actually was spawned. During my time at CAPASO, and MOTI right now is Masters of the Industry, motiafrica.com. It's an online video streaming platform where you get access to just music business information. It's a skill sharing platform that just provides information in the format of video for anyone who wants to start in this industry. So you start off correct. You don't miss out on any ways you could potentially make money in your future. Then from CAPASO, it was an opportunity. As much as I love CAPASO, but boardrooms and just fighting is something, it's a lot. So I got an opportunity to now get back with the creators, working with songwriters and producers, who I often call are the forgotten creators, actually, because, I know artists see flames. So now imagine a layer down of the songwriters and producers who are really just in the shadows, who no one really and they lose a lot of money. And I really became passionate about songwriters and producers specifically. So yeah, I enjoyed my time at Sony, and then last but not least, where I am currently, I was then offered an opportunity to become the managing director of Empire Publishing.
Nice.
So Empire is a American-based record label distribution company, and so yeah, I'm heading up the publishing division for the continent, and it's been a
Nice.
journey. It's been dope.
Nice.
Yeah,
Congratulations,
thank you,
man. What a
thank you.
journey. What a
Yes,
journey.
sir.
All right, so I share so many sentiments with what you just said, because one of the reasons this platform was created was because we focused a lot on the producers and the creators of the art, because artists and people that really know how to brand themselves are really
They're
able to
okay.
cake it, you know,
Yeah,
get the
they're okay.
endorsements, get all of that.
Shows.
But what about the person who actually created the art we all fell in love with? That's dope, man. So I just want to also go into what you were talking about, creating the video platform. And
Yes.
I remember you also had MOTI Mondays, you know.
Yes.
What inspired that?
So yeah, it really was, okay, if I'm being honest, there's an element of me where, number one, I started realizing my job was becoming harder because there's a lack of understanding within our industry. So it's almost like, I always say, it's like when I'm talking to someone, I'm almost having to talk in that like kindergarten, the way I'm always doing the ABCs with you, where internationally people are already on y equals emx squared plus y, you know. So there's a big gap, and we need to get there. And that's why I was like, you know, so it's almost a selfish reason. I was like, to make my job easier, if people understood what they needed to do, if people knew that when it comes to publishing, and a publisher deals with songwriters and producers, and one of the most important things are split sheets, for example. People don't do split sheets, which often leads into, and the roll-on effect is, if you don't do a split sheet, you do a song that becomes a hit. Next thing, everyone is now chasing the money. It becomes disputes. Royalties get frozen. You lose out. That's money. It's a whole revenue stream that gets blocked. So I just kept on seeing this and having to repeat these ABC kind of conversations. No, the difference between, no, a publisher isn't a distributor. A publisher, you know, those. And so I got tired, and I said, no, let me put this out. And also, I do want to be a MOTI maker, if I can coin that, actually. Someone where we need to start focusing on building business-minded people within our industry. Creativity, we've got it down packed. We've shown the world. We trend every day with new. Tyler's #1. We were just talking. South Africa has it.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's the business side which we're now lacking, and that's why a lot of our creatives end up always falling into the same traps. It's 2023, you're still hearing about, I signed a whack deal and I'm locked in a contract. And I'm like, not in 2023,
Can't be.
fam. No, with all the
Yeah.
resources. So I just thought, I thought maybe the issue is that the information is everywhere. Maybe we need to find one consolidated place where you know where to get information. And that's where I said, let me go for an online platform, which is motiafrica.com. So yeah, right now there's videos talking about the importance of branding and the things you need to be conscious of. It talks about publishing and the different players you would have in your team. If you're the artist, I talk about the importance of split sheets. I have key interviews with CEOs of the different collector societies of Samro, Capasso, Risa, Sampra. We've got all these conversations and interviews there for you, and it's sort of available for you, actually. You can go and learn and see, and my plan, ideally, what I would want is not for the creators, because sometimes we put a lot of pressure on the creators to say you must create, you must understand contracts, you're signing whack deals, and that's why I was like, we need to actually, creators should now start saying, nah, I need a MOTI in my team. Having someone you just take along and say, listen, you focus on this business stuff, watch these videos that Munya's put out, learn and listen, you handle that and grow with the art. Just to say an artist's brand and an experience grows, you can grow with someone and they're learning contracts. You can send them to, I know there's Academy of Sound Engineering, they do masterclass in music business. There's Rise Academy, they also do a business, music business course. You can jump into and just learn, because hey, otherwise you're just going to catch an L, dog.
I've got you.
Standard.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get it started.
Okay.
For a person who's just a newbie, I've just created my product. What is publishing and why do I need to know about it?
Okay, so publishing is, publishing is like long money in the industry. Publishing is the kind of money that actually you can actually, like an asset, you can actually pass it on to your children. If your catalog makes money, that's why Michael Jackson's kids will never have to work in their life. Not even just 3 generations down, the Jacksons, they'll never have to work because the royalties and the publishing money that comes through, they're nice for life. So publishers, just to give a quick breakdown, publishers deal with songwriters and producers. So our role is to do 3 things for songwriters and producers. Is number 1, protect your work. So make sure that no one is sampling your lyrics, sampling your beats without your permission or without paying you. The second thing is we make sure you get your royalties. So a lot of songwriters and producers, they think that when you go in the studio and you write a beat for someone, if you make a beat for someone, you write lyrics, it's just a transactional, oh, okay, here's you go, 10,000, thanks, peace, you're done. But it's actually said that unless you explicitly give away your rights, you always retain your rights, your publishing rights as a songwriter, as a producer. So yes, you can get paid that 10,000, but you need to view that as you're just being paid for your labor. But there's still royalties that you can still collect.
money.
That's
Yeah.
the long money now. So you can collect those royalties. And who's responsible for those royalties? For songwriters and producers specifically is Samro and Capasso. So we become, the important thing is you need to become a member of those societies in order to get the 2 royalties that we call. One is called the performance royalty. That's what Samro collects and distributes to songwriters and producers. And then Capasso, they're responsible for what we call the mechanical royalty. And they collect that and distribute that to songwriters and producers. So we make sure that because Empire is a global company, that wherever your music is played in the world, even in places you may not know, we are making sure that those societies were collecting your royalties. But in order for that to work, once you make a song in the studio, I mentioned it earlier before, split sheets. You need to do a split sheet, and a split sheet is a 1-page document that basically says, when it comes to the ownership of the copyright of this song, we're going to split it this way, basically. It's just a 1-page document, nothing hectic. And also on the MOTI platform, I've also created what I call, there's a digital split sheet there. So because in my head I said maybe people aren't doing split sheets because it's a cumbersome process. I have to go print out, I must run. Okay, no, AJ left early, so I need to wait. So maybe I said no, let's just do it, make it digital. So on the MOTI platform, there is a digital split sheet that you can complete. You just put in people's splits, you put in ID numbers and the like. It sends an email to everyone who's been included. Everyone has to approve. You can then download the split sheet. Done. You just put a digital signature. Done.
Online.
Done.
No stress.
Done.
Get your
Done.
money. Simple.
Simple. So that's one of the ways that I'm just trying to make things just streamline processes. We're in a digital world. There's no reason for us to still be physically printing. That sheet gets lost, and who knows where it is. Anyway, so the split sheet is so vitally important because that's what we use. We take the split sheet to the collection societies to say, we notify you that AJ's just done a new track called AJ's House. And basically, this is how it's split up. Munya owns 50%, AJ owns 50%. So when we're collecting royalties, I know just to collect AJ's 50% because I represent you. You're my guy. The remaining, Munya's publisher will need to handle that himself. So it's so important. As I said, it's a revenue stream which you can actually make. And in terms of the money, because when I was working at Capacity, I remember once saying, how much it comes in royalties have you distributed to like single entities? And they said, Munya, the truth, it can range from 50 Rand to around 900,000 Rand. And I'm like, that's crazy that certain people in this country here off royalties are chowing that much just because they've got their stuff in order, they've got the right, they're doing the right jobs and all that stuff. So publishers make sure that your stuff is registered correctly at the collection societies and that you're getting your royalties.
Yeah.
And then the third thing, which is the most fun thing for me, is we look for more opportunities for you as a songwriter, as a producer.
Okay.
So that means that we would, whether it is you songwriting or getting you into a writing room where we are, maybe there's an artist, AJ, you're about to drop, you're looking for songwriters and producers, we can get my writers, I'll organize together into those kind of rooms to get conversations going. And the dope thing about Empire is Empire's international. I think just now with PJ Morton,
Empire, this is the label that you're with now.
Correct.
All right, cool.
Empire Publishing is where I'm at. But yeah, we just managed to secure PJ Morton. We got Tony Eduardo to produce the track. He did a remix, and Maglera Doughboy on the track. So our function in that was to because we represent the Hampton studio. So we were like, yo, Hampton, we've got PJ Morton in town. He wants to do a remix. We would find that opportunity to get guys to work together. We also sort out the splits to make sure splits get done. And we've got a song. It's going to be performed tonight, I think, on Idols for the first time. Well, second time. So it's going to be performed. So those are the kind of opportunities and things that how we keep you being busy. And then lastly, the last thing is we also find synchronization deals. So a sync, also known as sync. A sync deal is when, by definition, is when you put music to moving pictures. And you see that happen in adverts. And it's moving pictures, you put music, that's a sync deal. So when adverts are using music, that's a synchronization. When you see songs that you know that are in movies, in TV shows, even in soccer, these are FIFA and all that, that's what we call a synchronization deal. And there's a transaction that happens for that. People pay up front for the usage of your song if it's in an ad, if it's in a movie. So we look for those also placements as well for our songwriters. And that's the function of a publisher. And that's why it's so important as well. I hope.
Jeez.
Hey,
Man, not a mouthful, man.
Come
I think you went
on.
through my entire script.
I think I need to take a sip of water.
Nice one, man. Nice one. All right. Just while you were speaking, I had a thought. Is it true that currently now, if you're a producer,
Yeah.
putting out more music consistently is better than having sort of like one good song at a particular time? Does putting out more music somehow compound into being able to now make a living off of just the publishing of your music?
So to answer your question, yeah, quantity isn't necessarily better when it comes to this, because you have to also, if you have to look at it, people will only want to use something they deem valuable. So they want a beat that is, so whether if it's a song that is, so it's better to have the one moment where you've got a song. So for example, I'll use like Jerusalem, for example. It's like, it's better to have that one song. And I was at Sony during that time, and I'm the one, I signed Nontebo to Sony Music Publishing. And like that one track, for example, can change your life.
You signed that song?
We signed it to Sony Music
Hectic.
Publishing.
All right,
Yes,
all
sir.
right,
Yeah.
all right.
So that one song, for example, changed the Grammy Award winner's life. For real. That I mean, it definitely contributed in such a way. So quantity, unless you're making music for a sound library, for example. I mean, then there's sounds, and I guess people will pick and choose depending on what sound they want. But when it comes to doing it, you have to be strategic. You have to try, as a producer, to work with artists, for example, who have traction, whose music is going to travel and to move, and because you need your music to be active. That's the key word. So if the songs aren't active and you're just putting out, yes, maybe one day one song might crack and then people will go back to your catalog. So you could play it like that. But in the event that doesn't happen, it's better for you to be more strategic, be in the right rooms, be in the right spaces, network with the right people to make sure the works that you are doing end up being active. You know, so it's better to have stuff which is active, that is of value, than just push.
I've got you.
Yeah.
All right, man. So you spoke about Samro, you
Yes.
spoke about Capasso, and then there's also Sampra.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. To a person who doesn't know all of these different organizations,
yeah.
and to a person who also does not understand what royalties are and the different types, can you, I know you touched on it,
Okay.
and you spoke about the royalties, right? But can you just sort of give a better understanding as to this one will give you this?
Okay.
Just to clarify it a little more.
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. Let's get into it. So let me just say, music has two rights. People need to understand. So there's rights in composition. So that's basically the rights in what makes a song. And what does make a song? Lyrics, beats, melodies. And that's actually the space where publishers play. Then music has another right, which is the right in the sound recording, or a lot of people understand it as the master. I know that gets thrown out. So there's rights in the master, and that's usually represented by the record label or the independent artist. It's the people who are now performing the music, if that makes sense. So one side is the people who are making the music, the other side is the people who are performing the music. And they represent the finished song, the finished product. These guys is what makes up. So they've got the ingredients, these guys have got the finished cake, if that makes sense. So think of music like that. So when you think of music like that, now you have to see that Samro and Capasso, they both deal with songwriters and producers and publishers. So they fall on the rights in composition side as well. So they're the ones who are responsible to making sure the royalty. So as I mentioned, or I didn't mention, sorry, Sam was responsible for the performance royalty. Performance royalty is, if you have to break it down, is saying anywhere where music is played in public. So it's not a gig performance, but it's anywhere. So like on radio, music is played in public, that's a performance. When you go to the mall and music is playing, people need to be, that's paid for basically. So Samro's duty is to make sure all these places where music is being used in public performance, that these guys have a license, they're paying their license, and Samro's collecting that money and distributing it to the members who are the songwriters, composers, and the publishers. So that's Samro. So Samro does performance royalties. Capasso, on the other hand, does a mechanical royalty, and again, they deal with only songwriters, producers, and publishers. Mechanical royalty is based on usage now of your works. So every time, so usage is basically saying when there's a stream, when your song is streamed once, that is seen as usage. So every time your song is streamed, there's a percentage of that royalty of the money that is taken and basically collected for the songwriters and producers.
Okay.
So that's where the and that's the mechanical royalty. So of any platform where music is being used now, it's now being consumed like that. That's mechanical royalty, and Capasso is responsible for collecting and distributing that. Now, when we move to Sampra now. Sampra is on the other side now. And Sampra, actually, they also collect the performance royalty. But now, it's not for the songwriter and the producer. It's for the record it's now the people who actually, performers of the song, basically. So it's for the actual artist or the session musicians who actually perform the song. So Sampra, again, they deal with, again, the performance royalty, but it's for songwriters, it's for the performers, the artists, the record labels, the session musicians. Okay. And they call their performance royalty is called neighboring rights, also known as related rights or needle time. I think in SA we call it needle time. So they collect that royalty again and they distribute it to record labels, performing artists and session musicians and the like. So that's how it's chopped up. I hope that made sense.
Fortunately, this is on YouTube, so I can keep rewinding.
If you need to, just rewind 10 seconds. Just
all right. And for anyone who also might need clarification, that's why you got the notebooks and pens. We're going to have the Q&A session right after Munya is done. But coming back to all of that, right, with the rights and all, there's something called the Copyright Amendment Bill that everyone is going wild about.
Correct.
You know? I'm new in the game. I don't know what that is. Why should I be concerned?
So this is something that affects everyone directly, in actual fact. And this is why I say we need more business-minded people in the industry, because the creators aren't that concerned because they don't understand. However, if there was someone who understood to explain why the creators need to get behind, is very important. So I think the Copyright Amendment Act was originally made in 1978 or 1976, one of the two. And basically, obviously, we all know the world has changed drastically in the last couple of years. I mean, digitization and stuff and all the like. However, because this act was drawn up back in the 70s, clearly it doesn't really address. They wouldn't have known in the future. They had no idea they had no idea about streaming or anything. So there's basically, in long and short, as I'm saying, certain things are backwards. And they're backward in the sense they now are actually handicapping the industry. It now cuts you short. So there's certain things, for example, like back then, they made the lifetime of copyright. So copyright has a lifetime. Earlier, one of the things I mentioned was that this stuff with IP, when it comes to music and publishing, this is something you can pass on to your kids. It's something that's an asset that you can pass to your heirs. So, but this asset also has its own lifetime, and this is now one of the arguments: is the lifetime of the copyright. Currently, I think the lifetime of the copyright is 50 years. So, it's saying if Munya makes a song, which becomes, actually, I'll use it perfectly. Mbube is the great example, which I even tried to do some things in that space. But Mbube is a song done by Solomon Linda.
Oh, Mbube.
Mbube,
Okay,
that
okay,
track,
okay.
yeah. So if anyone knows the story behind that track, basically, it's a situation where Solomon Linda created a song. Now it's became the song we all know as, well, most people know globally, it's known as The Lion Sleeps Tonight. It became popular because of Lion King. It blew up. However, because things were not done correctly, the Solomon Linda family, who should have been the heirs and being able to be chowing those royalties through all these years, really didn't get the opportunity to do that, which is a sad situation. And technically, what would have happened, because he passed away in 1967, because the life of copyright. So once the original composer dies, passes away, 50 years after that, that's the life of the copyright. So currently in the Copyright Act is 50 years. Most countries in the world is now 100 years. So that's an issue. So that means we're cutting short the ability for us to pass on this asset to our families, if that makes sense. So now instead, something that our families can maybe chow for 100 years, if it's a smash hit, it's now reduced to 50. So that needs to change, for example. There's also the big thing about fair use. Fair use is a tricky one where
Especially now because I've got a podcast when it comes to fair use. I'm like, hey.
I saw you shaking your head. Fair use. I know that there's a lot of debate on the fair use as to whether it's right or right and wrong. There are some parties who do have a stance that fair use is not the way to go. Basically, fair use is saying that people can use briefly, it's like saying they can use your copyright without, in certain instances, without having to engage with you to get permission. That's why it's fair use. If it's made, it can just use it. Whereas some bodies are like, no, that's not the way. You can't just use something that I own without my permission, with the like. So that's where now this debate has begun. But as it currently is the Copyright Act that's currently sitting where it's sitting is pushing forward fair use. So basically, we need, as an industry, right now the fight is, well, basically, it's like, as the industry, we need to get in the ring for this fight, because if we sign that off, there are effects. If we keep it, there are effects. So it's almost like people must learn and understand and make your own decision as to whether, am I for fair use? Because there are some advantages. Some people, like platforms, YouTube, they're all fair use. You see content being used, music is easily used because they use stuff like fair use. So there are pros and cons, but the ultimate thing is important is that you understand and you make your own choice as to either do I agree with it, and if you don't agree with it, then you need to be backing and fighting the signing off of this agreement that could happen very soon. And that's the kind of stuff. So there's also, I know that there was in the copyright, there was one they were looking at maybe saying, looking at almost putting like a tariff on the usage of devices where you can transfer music as well, because people are freely just USB in and out. So they want to look at putting a tariff on that so that money can go back to the copyright holders. There was two other things as well, but yeah, that's the vibe with the Copyright Amendment Act. But it's something which is
Where do you
affecting
fall
us.
on?
What are my thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely. I mean, life of copyright, I feel 100% that needs to increase 100%. Things like, because I'm so pro the industry, I'm for wherever I think, yeah, we should be earning money. If any, it's in my head, the problem with music is that people feel that music should be as free as air, because people don't quite see it, the process behind making music. They don't see that you are going to studio, you're spending time, you're paying for a producer, you're paying for mixing and mastering, you're then having to promote your song, you're doing your music. They don't see how much you put into it, because then for someone just to take it, put on Fakaza, and then it's I mean, it's painful, dog. But these are the things that are important. So I'm pro. Right now, I personally feel, yeah, not signing the
No?
the thing right now. Yeah.
In other words, AJ's house would just close down. The next day, it's
The
over.
next
It's
day,
done.
shut it
All
down.
right.
Right now, I think there's certain things we just need to. I don't think it needs to be signed yet. I do think there's points that need to be further deliberated on a bit more, and to make it solid. So I'm not
Nice.
for it at this moment in time.
I get you, man. All
Yeah.
right, man. I feel like 45 minutes is not enough to talk
Hey,
about publishing, not
hey.
even close. But just to wrap it up, what are some common mistakes that new producers should avoid or new composers should avoid making?
Okay, so I think definitely don't not sign split sheets. I think it's very important to get split sheets done because that.
Before or after the studio session?
So I guess you kind of need to assess the room in my head. Usually, I think it's easier if you say, what I used to do is during a session, I'd print out, I'd ask people as you're coming in, I'd say, please just write your name on the split sheet, put your details right before anything starts, so that now at least that part is done. So now when at the end of the session, we've seen how much people have contributed, because a split sheet is negotiated based on how much have you contributed to the song. If I just was clapping on a song, which happens, so someone can just be that clap, but that clap, it could be just a clap where someone says, Munya, you can just 1%, and it's cool, I'm okay. But maybe if that clap is like what song is a clap which is quite significant? There's some songs which have claps which are, maybe that one and that one, they can be like, no, but my clap is actually the main thing. So I want maybe a young 20 or so. So it's all based on what you've contributed to the song. And but the conversation needs to be had then afterwards. Once you contribute, you understand. Everyone signs off on it manually and done. But that's also why I've done the split sheet digitally as well, to avoid having to do that. You just put everyone's emails, everyone who you put it on the platform, email, it sends out an email to everyone there, and then you approve, you register, done. Split sheet is done. It makes it easier. But for me, the biggest battle I have is split sheets. It hinders negotiations, especially when writers are wanting to talk to me about having an advance. They think, Munya, I want an advance. Can I pick a new? And we're very happy to pay advances, but it has to make your work needs to be in order. I can't blindly give an advance, because also advances, you guys must also not rush for advances. Actually, I think unless you know how, if I'm giving you an advance of 50,000 rand, for example, unless you know how to make that 50,000 100,000, don't just, it's not, an advance isn't meant to just be money that you now take home to now fix the crib, you're fixing your new car and whatnot. Advances are meant to basically advance you and your career. That's the name. It's to advance you. But the wrong usage, so not that advances are bad, but they have to be used correctly. So, but yeah, going back to the most important thing, which I always press, is for me is split sheets. That for me is without split sheets, it makes things very difficult for a publisher to even work with you.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing for young producers. Other than that, know your rights. Understand that you don't just sign away anything, because sometimes I've seen deals where certain songwriters signed a deal that they've even given away their rights, and they didn't know that they get. So then once you sign off your rights, anything that you write, anything that has your signature in the court of law, it means that you understood what was there and you signed off on it and you agreed. It's very hard to reverse that, to now plead negligence or I didn't understand. In the court of law, it's a tricky thing. So please watch out with what you sign. Don't just sign away stuff. And I'll just go back and say split sheets again, yo. Split sheets, split sheets, split sheets.
I've got you.
Yes, sir.
One more thing before we go into the Q&A. House music, it was underground at the beginning. Bootlegs were like the biggest thing.
Yeah.
People just randomly taking vocals, which we've got access now, doing remixes and all of that, and throwing music out. What's the right way to do this?
So thank you, actually. This is something I should have touched on. So publishers can also assist you in clearing songs so that you don't have the situation like happened. And this is with like Kavulungu,
The Peter Tennant song.
Peter Tennant track, which became an issue. Is hey, she gave me sleepless nights, but because copyright is copyright. Sometimes there've been things where people say if you use just 5 seconds of someone's thing, it's fine. If you use 29 seconds, you don't need to clear it. It's a lie. The minute you use something that does not belong to you, you have to get it cleared. It doesn't matter how much it is. So the right way to do it is, ideally, if you have a track that needs to be cleared, if you have a publisher, engage with your publisher. Let your publisher know that I've got this track, I've sampled this track. Please, can you find out who the rights holders are, so that you can get the song cleared so that when I release it, there's no takedowns, there's no issues. Because the worst thing to happen, and this is actually what happened with Kavulungu, is that it was online. They put it online, unfortunately, without their knowledge. It was illegal. They used a sample. And when they put that online, the real rights holders came after them, demanding money, and it became a bit messy, but we managed to fix it for them and help them out. That's why it's out. But had they reached out to a publisher, at the time they didn't even have a publisher, we only signed them during that thing, but had they had a publisher and had they known, they would have come to us, we would have cleared the song, got it put out problem, so that it doesn't kill your flow. It's not good to have a song that's available, it's doing well, it's streaming, suddenly you have to take it down, now you lose. People are looking for your song, they can't find it. This day and age, people move like this as well. What's the next song? They move on to the next song, you end up losing streams, you lose momentum, you're having to pick, it just becomes a bit harder. So the easiest thing is, if you know there's a publisher, use a publisher to clear your music. So that's also something. So we cleared that song for them. That's how we were able to re-release it. And well, unfortunately, we weren't able to clear the actual Peter Tennant sample, but we were able to get the guys in studio to re-record it. So the version that we put out is re-recorded with DJ Nomza was on the vocals, Tebs of the DJ on the beat still, and we were able to put that out with no issues. So, legally. Okay. So yeah, so we're nice now. So yeah, clearances are so important. Yeah, whether it's house, whether it's my piano, you have to.
Sorry, I'm not clued up. Was it owned by Gallo?
The original.
Yeah.
So the master was owned 50-50 by Universal and another party, and then the publishing was owned wholly by another party. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No stress. Munya, also known as Moti, thank you very much for your time, dude. We really appreciate it. We hope you get to stick around and share some more knowledge with us. And yeah, just, keep engaging with the energy.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you for doing this, yo.
Standard.
Appreciate it. All right, bless.